Beta Upsilon Chi, BUX, presents Man to Man, the premier audio journal for men who live faithfully and lead courageously. I'm Jared Musgrove, bringing you an installment in our occasional series, Collegiate Leaders. These are conversations with college men who live faithfully and lead courageously on major campuses across the country. And today we welcome Jackson Balsavias straight from Baylor University. Jackson, welcome.
Let's go. First podcast. So excited to be on.
Man, it's good to have you on. It was great to be with you guys, just celebrating 25 years of the Baylor BYX chapter just a couple of months ago. So it's good to be together again.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Matt, Jackson, for the guys who are listening in, just give us what I call the LinkedIn stats. You know, background, major area of study, what you're involved in at the university.
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I went to high school and grew up. Obviously, I go to Baylor. I chose Baylor because Baylor to me felt like the only large Christian school aside from Liberty that actually seemed to be Christian and carry out the words that they claimed. Not a knock on any other university. That's just what I chose. I feel like Baylor's my home. I'm a aviation management / administration major. So once I graduate in May here, I'll be going off to the Air Force.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'd love to dial in on a couple of things you shared just there. In that, you know, a lot of the guys that we talk to, they're at major secular schools, and so their answer to this question could be different, maybe not. Baylor's a big school, although I don't think you're required to be a Christian to go there. What is it like being a Christ follower at Baylor University? What are some challenges that come specifically with that, but also maybe some unexpected joys as well?
Baylor is really interesting because obviously, not everybody here is Christian, but there's obviously a very significant Christian population. And I would say the majority of the people that are here came for that reason, to build their faith and live that out. But at the same time, you got this like weird Christian performative culture here in Waco at this, and the best way I can describe it as well, it's definitely a problem. My freshman year, I remember going to the dining halls after going to church on Sundays, and everybody in the dining halls, all the freshmen, are all dressed up in their Sunday best. And it's odd because a lot of them aren't actually coming from church. They just dressed up in their Sunday best to make it look like they just came from church.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
So, yeah, it's like people are afraid to just admit it that like, hey, I didn't make it to church this week. Or they're just afraid to say, hey, I'm not even Christian. That's just part of the culture down here. But, you know, it has a lot of pros and cons. I'm surrounded by a Christian community here, which is great. But there's definitely a weight and scale there.
No, I hear you. Do you see any differences just among your generation as far as some of that goes?
You know, I think a lot of people say our generation is lost. But, you know, I read something the other day from, I think it was Christianity Today. And it said that among Gen Z that we actually have the highest participation of the people that are followers of Christ, of that pool, that Gen Z actually has the highest participation. They're going to church services the most consistently. They're the ones most plugged in. And I think it's pretty evident just talking to the Christians that are Gen Zers too. I think the Unite movement going across different college campuses, saving thousands of people has been huge. I think the social media boom in Christianity too has just been awesome to see as well.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Tell me more about what you're seeing in the social media boom. I'm glad you went there.
I think about I'm not like big into social media, but a lot of people are learning a lot, and like God is reaching out to them through social media. I think of people like Bryce Crawford, Jonathan Bacluda, Forrest Frank. All those guys have millions of followers, and they've been great influences on our generation.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that I think that the majority of Gen Z, the stats are also showing that they're addicted to their phones and they're addicted to social media. And I think Satan loves that so much. I think like that was his intent with phones and social media. And I think it's cool to see that God is taking what the enemy meant for evil, doing it for good.
Yeah, that's well said. And so just to dial it in a little bit, you've touched on a few things here, but just talking about the man who's representing Baylor Bears right now, your campus, kind of what God's doing there. What are signs of hope that you see specifically at the Baylor campus right now that God is on the move?
That's a good question. I think, like I said already, like there's so much Christian community here, it can almost feel overwhelming trying to pick which community to get plugged into, because there's just such a wide a range of places you could go. And being the former president of Bucks at Baylor has really allowed me to network with all of the different Christian leaders of the different Christian organizations. And like just seeing all of them and talking to all of them, they're all phenomenal. They're all like there genuinely to see Christ. They genuinely want to see people grow in their faith, and they're not there for themselves. They're not there for pride. Um, just seeing all of the leadership that we have here at Baylor, man, I wouldn't be surprised 20 years from now if like Baylor graduates are running this country. So we'll see.
It's great. That's great. Sick 'em. Go get them.
Bears, let's go.
That's fun. Well, man, I'd love to dive some too into your background. We've talked about where you are currently, but I'd love to learn a little about when you started walking with Jesus and what it's like since you started walking with him.
I've known God my entire life. I can vaguely remember praying every night before I went to bed. And if you asked me as a kid if I believed in God, I'd say yeah. But I don't really think I knew the Lord and was living my life for the Lord until COVID happened. I think I literally just got so bored during quarantine that I decided to open my Bible one day. And I started reading the Gospel of Matthew, and I read it all in one night, one of those beautiful quarantine nights. And I just remember crying by the end of the book. Like I knew the story of the gospel. Jesus died for me. I was like, cool, that's awesome. But I had never like read the full story cover to cover. And then it really wasn't like this dramatic moment. It was definitely very gradual of me surrendering my life over to God, and doing his will, not mine. But ever since that moment, my sophomore year of high school, everything has just completely changed.
Wow, man. Well, take us up to today, joining Bucks, getting to lead within the organization now as a senior leader. Tell us what these 4 years have been like as far as walking with Jesus, learning how to lead in a Christian environment.
So Bucks is actually a pretty funny story. When I was applying to colleges, Baylor was my number one choice. But all of the backups that I applied to, I won't name them, but all of the backups I applied to, I distinctly made sure that they had Bucks chapters at them. I wouldn't apply to a backup school unless I knew I could get plugged into Bucks, which is really funny because I didn't know anybody in Bucks. I didn't know much about it other than I think I just looked at their website. I saw their intent. I looked at their social media. I was like, this is awesome. This is exactly what I want. And so when I got to Baylor, I knew that I was going to rush Bucks right away. And it was just a place for me to plug in immediately and have Christian community, just have guys to do life with, to keep accountable. Yeah, it's been awesome. As far as leadership goes, when I first came into Bucks, actually, I do remember being a little disappointed at the same time at the state of the chapter. When I first joined, we were kind of divided. We kind of had this one side of the fraternity that really wanted to be a fraternity, which is great, but they took it way too far to the extreme to where they really just prioritized the social benefits of being a fraternity and they weren't there to seek the Lord. And then there was the other side of the fraternity that was there to do that. And obviously that's what I wanted. But there was a divide for sure. And I almost remember dropping pledgeship in the middle of it because I was like pretty conflicted about it. And I could just kind of sense God telling me like, hey, you're here for a reason. I'm planting you in this fraternity to make it 100%.
Yeah.
Not that I made it perfect anyway, but just to kind of swing the pendulum more towards that. Hey, we are a fraternity, but we're seeking God 100%. That's our mission. And so, yeah, I just felt called into leadership. As a sophomore and junior, I was the recruitment coordinator. And then the following year, I got to serve as the president. And now on to my last semester.
It's fantastic, man. No, I love that Bucks was a decision factor for you as you were looking at colleges. I'm hearing that story increasingly. That's inspiring. But what's also inspiring is that as much as it was a decision factor, you didn't quit when it wasn't exactly what you thought it was going to be when you got there, and you committed to making it better.
Absolutely.
Baylor Bucks is better because of you, Jackson. That's another reason I wanted to talk today. I've just admired your leadership, particularly over the last year as I've gotten to watch some of it afar, from you being president, just kind of getting to be in a couple of spaces with you. I am grateful that you shared that story with our guys and with other guys who may be listening, considering Bucks as well.
Let's go. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, man, tell me a little bit more too, because ROTC,
That's right.
heading into the Air Force. Tell us a little about what attracts you to that. What is that call of service on your life?
So it's actually a pretty funny story. I remember applying to Baylor as a neuroscience major. I was like, I don't really know what to apply for. I had
Go for the gold on that one. No easy major.
no intention of ever joining the military. And then my senior year of high school, really in between my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college, Top Gun Maverick came out.
Ah,
I went to the theater. I was like, that was the best movie I've ever seen in my life. But like after that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna change my career because of this
hmm,
movie. But I think that was like just a little seed planted there.
hmm.
And so when I went to freshman orientation in the summer, about a month before school started, um, one of the first guys I met there said he wanted to go check out ROTC. And I'm from St. Louis. I don't know anybody at Baylor, so I was sticking to this guy. I was gonna be clingy. I didn't know anybody else, so I followed him along. I was like, sure. Um, and I remember just walking into the door of Air Force ROTC. And I'm really not somebody to like over spiritualize and be like, oh, God told me. But like when I walked in that door, like it kind of just felt like the Holy Spirit was like flowing over me. It was like this just sense of like, you need to try this. And so I did. I decided, I was like, you know what, I'll give this a go for a week, first week of college. If I don't like it, I'll just drop it. It's no big deal. And then I got there week one, and immediately I was like, man, I'm really passionate about this, and I don't know why. And then through the 4 years I've been in there, just progressed, and now I'm fully committed. But yeah, it's also been an amazing leadership opportunity as well. ROTC will teach you a lot about leadership, a lot about resiliency. So it's been amazing to have both the leadership from Bucks and the leadership from ROTC. And honestly, both have really benefited each other. I think the leadership I've learned from ROTC has led me to be a lot more organized than I would have been if I wasn't for Bucks. And then at the same time, being able to bring in that Christian leadership that I've learned from Bucks into ROTC has also been amazing.
Man, I love that. One thing you've hit on several times throughout this, and it's a major factor of being a Bucks member, being a leader, is that you're not doing it alone. You're not leading alone. You're not learning to lead or walk with Christ alone. If you can, Jackson, this is where we get to celebrate some of those men. I mean, to name names, who are the men in your life whom you most admire and want to emulate?
I would say the person I look up the most to, like the person I want to be the most like, doesn't even know me, which is funny. But his name is Jonathan Bakluda. He's the pastor at Harris Creek. Shout out. And then the college pastor there as well, Sam Lagenbaum, has been a great mentor. And then a couple of older guys that already graduated, George Schroeder, Scott Harton. They're off in the Air Force doing their own thing as well. So,
man, that's really good. So, Jackson, the Lord leading the way. Who and where do you hope to be 5 years from now?
well, 5 years from now, I am currently legally obligated to serve in the United States Air Force. So,
Figured that might come into that answer. Yeah.
where I will be, I'm not sure. I am currently going to go to NATO fighter pilot training in September of 2026 this year. That'll be about 2 years. And then after that, I'll get some more information on where I'm going. But I'll be flying a fighter jet, hopefully, in the sky. But most importantly, I'll be doing ministry. I think God calls us, everybody, no matter what career you're in, to be doing ministry, whether that's vocational ministry or not. But, the military is a pretty dark place. There's a lot of people in it that I think claim to know God, but don't necessarily show the fruits of the Spirit. And especially as an officer, I'm just really excited to show people the light of Christ and show people what it can look like to live a life fully surrendered to Christ. So
faithful and courageous, bro. It really is. You've got thousands of brothers listening to you right now. A lot are Bucks men. Some may not be. Some may not be yet. As we're listening to you, how can we be praying for you in what is now your final semester at Baylor, and then heading off into that adventure in the Air Force?
Honestly, it's pretty anxiety inducing, like going into the Air Force. I don't know. I don't hope I die, but I could die. And also just the uncertainty of I'll be moving around every 2 years or so. That's going to be tough on me. That's going to be tough on family. So just prayers that I can lead courageously, and just really lean on the Lord and trust that wherever I end up, He's going to be with me no matter what. and I don't need to be worried about tomorrow. So,
man, that's good. I think you've got a lot of brothers who are just praying for you just now as they're listening to it. Probably this week, some will go back and listen to this a little later, and then you've got a lot of men at your chapter that you've led faithfully, Jackson, and even more of us just in National Bucks. We're going to continue praying for you, man. Proud of you. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Man to Man is powered by Beta Upsilon Chi, commonly referred to as Bucks. As you heard today, everywhere, every day, Bucks men are setting out, raising families, they are leading in organizations, and they are strengthening churches to impact our communities for Christ. You can find out more about Beta Upsilon Chi by transliterating our Greek letters and adding a .org. That's BYX.org. Man to Man is produced, rather well I might add, by the good gentlemen of the Good Podcast Company. For Beta Upsilon Chi, I'm Dr. Jared Musgrove.